Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we are going to be taking a first look at Harrison, who is a newly released promo character. This is what he looks like as a 5-star, and he looks actually pretty decent as a 5-star. A lot of the 5-star, they don't put too much detail onto the 5-stars just because they're instant ascendables basically now in terms of being the promo characters. And when you look at him as a 6-star here, he gets an attached weapon, quite the attached weapon. It's a rocket launcher, and his model changes drastically, so a lot of time has gone into that 5-star that maybe wasn't needed, and that's generally why they don't put time into it. But the 5-star does look really nice. Just like, I like it when it's low key, if I'm honest. Just like got apparel that makes sense. As a 6-star, he has got 2,081 attack, 1,540 defense, and 1,783 HP. He is a tough character, but his role is deemed as support, and his stats don't really reflect that, if I'm honest, and neither does his weaponry, if I'm going to be completely honest. Looking at the adrenaline rush, it is called Revitalizing Shells. It is a 76 AP cost rush, and it does deal 2 attacks of 350% damage, 700% total to one enemy. All teammates regain 25% of their max HP for 2 turns, so that's 50% total, and gain 35% bonus HP. So that's all teammates getting that 35% as well. That is why I guess he's deemed as a support character, is because of that second half of the rush. Now the first half of that rush deals exactly the same amount of damage as the double attack Dwight, the old event character that was really amazing once upon a time. He has fallen off a little bit just because he hasn't got one of those primo specialist skills. However, I have seen him on some defense teams sort of tanked out, and he is okay. He's not too bad, but I think there are better options in terms of those defensive damage dealers, characters like Tobin, characters like Tara. So he is obviously on the bench for a lot of people, but his damage output is huge, and Harrison is going to be able to replicate that. As a support character, that's not too bad. He has got amazing base attack already. Now that all teammates are getting 25% of their max HP for 2 turns is the same as Eric's rush in terms of his healing power. Now if Eric and Harrison were to rush at the same time, if they were in the same team, that would stack with each other, so it would go to 50% heal for 2 turns. They stack together. It's great. When you've got 2 big ones especially, you know, I think back in the day I had SR Zeke and I had heal over time Rick, the one in the gown basically, and those stacked together, and that was a huge amount of HP per turn. It was great. Now the bonus HP is actually pretty nice. I think this is actually a pretty decent character, but I don't think he's going to be utilized mainly for attack teams. I think he's got potential to be on certain defense teams. With these AP percentage teams where he could have that 20% AP, if he goes off early, he's obviously going to be giving everybody on his team a heal, so any attacks that they've taken are going to be nullified, and bonus HP on top of that, so they're going to make them much more tanky in terms of just, you know, the HP bonuses. However, there are probably better options for those defense teams for that 20% slot. You've got characters like Holly, and you've got characters like Tobin, obviously doing 2 very different roles, one being very defensive and one being very offensive. Harrison sort of sits in the middle of these 2 characters, and he maybe gives you a bit of both worlds. You could potentially have another offensive character or another 50-50 character like Harrison in that sort of team, and it could work well. But it's hard. It's really hard to say where he's going to fit in. You know, you never know what changes in the future in these sort of games, but I don't think this character is a AAA branded character right now, but like I say, you never know what is going to change in the future. Looking at his active skill, it is Confuse and AP gain. It is exactly the same as Sadiq's Confuse, which is confuse one enemy for 2 turns with an initial cooldown of 2 and a cooldown of 2 turns. However, this character also gains 35% AP. That 35% AP gain on an attack team will not be enough to counter the fact that he's not going to attack. But the Confuse is nice if you don't have any ways to deal with certain characters. If someone's going to go off that you need to get rid of. I see a lot of stun resist, obviously, but I've seen taunt resist start to come into the mix. And I've seen a little bit of impair resist as well. Confuse resist is maybe getting sort of put on the back burner by a lot of defense teams, and this is where Harrison could maybe just slot in. I don't like the fact that it's such a low percentage AP gain. If it was 50% AP, it would completely be okay to use it at any point on an attack or a defense team, and that confused part of it can get resisted, so there is risk. So I think that you should be guaranteed something at least half decent, and just under the amount that you would need to get for a rush is not going to be good in terms of what you would normally get for a basic attack. Now looking at his leader skill, it is all tough and fast teammates get 40% attack and a huge bonus to AP when attacking. It is identical to Revive Carl's leader skill. It is a strange one to come out at this point because there aren't really that many defense teams that are all ranged at the moment in terms of being like within the meta, where, you know, the Erica defense teams where it was alert and tough defense teams, this leader would have countered that brilliantly, but that hasn't been a thing for a while pretty much, and those teams generally get decimated these days. So as a leader, I don't think he's fantastic. It doesn't have the icons for tough and fast. That just might be an oversight at the moment. I know on other leaders it says tough and it has the tough icon, fast and the fast icon. That threw me off a little bit, but it definitely says tough and fast. My eyes are working. Now his weapon looks sick. It looks sick. Harrison's sturdy rocket launcher. This is obviously the second rocket launcher character in the game. We have got Rocket Abe. I don't think this guy's going to be called Rocket Harrison because this is the only Harrison. It is a weird weapon, if I'm honest. 30% HP when his stats are geared towards offense. He is a support character, so I guess it's trying to roll in with that. Again, weird. The second slot being 15% defense is the pure upgrade slot, so you do what you want there in terms of AP gain or whatever. When attacking, a better chance to disarm for 2 turns is nice. It's a weaker version of a normal disarm, obviously, because the when attacking a better chance means roughly like 35% or so, whereas you can gear disarm characters obviously up to close to 85% chance to crit with huge amounts of crit. And also you'll get guaranteed not be able to get like stun on defense, absolute defense, AP downs on a disarm character. They will always hit those characters and they'll never have to take any of that, whereas this character can attack someone who's got stun on defense, even if he's got a resist mod, and still get stunned because the disarm is not a specialist skill, the disarm is on his weapon. When I saw this leak initially, I thought this would be an absolutely perfect way to implement a free-to-play disarm because it wouldn't be massively overpowered because it obviously would be on the weapon, but it would still be what pretty much free-to-play need at the moment. I don't think this character is that great. I think he is okay. He could be a bit of fun, you know, just having a rocket launcher, but I'm not really sure. I think his best option in terms of being used at the top level will probably be on defense teams, but there are probably just better options. He's trying to be too much of a jack of all trades, whereas you've got Holly, who's a pure support character, and then you've got Tobin, who's a pure damage dealer, and those two characters fit what he would potentially be doing on a defense team much better than he can, if I'm honest. So maybe, like I said, in the future things could change and he could become much more useful on attack teams. That leader skill is interesting. Like I said, it's just weird that it would come out at this point. I think the leader skills that would probably be more useful would be tough and strong. Basically another sort of version of the Diego lead, because I have seen a lot of Donny teams start to pop up a little bit. So that would be obviously be a counter to Donny teams. A bit more of a suicidal counter, but still a counter nonetheless. But that's Harrison. I think he looks awesome. He is one of the, you know, best looking characters in terms of the model and everything. I do like more subtle assets on models and stuff, and he's geared obviously for the apocalypse. He looks great. He's got a beret. I think he's one of the few characters with a beret as well. That's the hat for anybody who doesn't know what a beret is. And obviously he's got a rocket launcher. But that's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.